welcome to another action-packed, exciting. Welcome to another action-packed, exciting hour of the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Rewatch Along Project. This is podcasting the way it used to be and the way you like it. This show is a production of the Something Else Podcasting Network, and it is episode number 094 of Something Else from November 13th, 1993, taped November 8th, 1993, at the Newton Recreation Center in Newton, North Carolina. My name is Arya, and joining me, as always, is the Robbie Eagle to my John Hitchcock. It's Trae. Trae, how be you today?
I'm okay. I just got a new computer mouse that I'm excited about. And by just, I mean like it was delivered like an hour ago. I
Nice.
was using this I was using this mouse. It was one of the ones that it lays flat and you put your hand on it, and instead of moving it to control your cursor or to control your pointer, you would move the ball with your thumb. And it was great, and I really liked it for a long time, but I've started to I've been having some like carpal tunnel issues, and one of the things was if I used the mouse too long, my hand would start to fall asleep. So I got a mouse. It's a new type of mouse that I've never seen before. I haven't bought a mouse in a while, but it's kind of like vertical. Like it's a new type of ergonomic mouse, and the way you put your hand, you kind of put it like you're shaking somebody's hand, and then your thumb is on the underside with a couple of buttons, and then your top fingers are on the top side on the right. I'm doing a terrible job of describing this, but it's a nice mouse.
I stopped listening when you said that you moved the ball with your thumb.
Why? What?
Uh,
Why was that?
I don't know. We got our show title edited on one of our other
Oh,
platforms because of your podcast name idea.
hey, I stand by that.
We can't be Butch Reed, Boinks, Terry Taylor everywhere.
Uh, that's
Uh,
uh, that's gonna be a special. That's gonna be a collector's item someday. The version of that podcast with the real title.
Remember, never capitulate on an empty stomach. That would not have been edited. Just,
That was also a good title.
yes, I agree.
With
You know,
with complete respect to that title.
yes. Um,
But
so, by the way, we've moved to a new location, Newton, North Carolina, which is not to be confused with Newton Steffi, the famous champion of Canada, whose name Dirty White Boy once pulled out of a hat to defend the Smoky Mountain title against back in the day before Beat the Champ was a thing.
oh wow.
Yes. You see, he was the champion of Canada, and he would defend his title in Canada against the challenger, Newton Steffi, everybody. I want to find out, I
Think the
barely remember what I had for dinner, and I just ate dinner, but I still remember Newton Steffi, a jobber from August 1992. Thank you.
I had a Red Baron four meat pizza with jalapenos added.
Interesting. I played some college football 25 on the Xbox.
Cool, cool.
Yeah. I got to ask you, did you notice the new logo on this week's show?
Um, I noticed a kind of different look overall, but I didn't notice a new logo in particular.
Good, because there wasn't a new logo. I was just busting your balls after you didn't notice the Mid-South logo on
Okay,
Tuesday.
okay, well that's good.
Yes. So yes, we're here at Smoky Mountain Wrestling, episode number 94, November 13th, 1993. Taped 5 days earlier, November 8th, 1993. We are on the way to the seventh annual, second annual Thanksgiving Thunder Tour, which is coming up very soon, I think. You know?
4th of July is just around the corner. That's
Yep, yep, yep. Arbor Day, I think they do like a four holiday tour. You have Arbor Day, Independence Day. Guy Fawkes Day, and I don't know what's the other one.
Did you know that Arbor Day is Christmas for beavers?
We gift them trees or something.
So somebody who's my age heard that and laughed. Do you remember a show in the 90s called The Angry Beavers,
I
a
do.
cartoon?
Yes.
One of the episodes they had it was like a Christmas special, but it was Arbor Day because Arbor Day is Beaver Christmas.
It, I really hope somebody out there laughed. I really do.
I I I am not done making references that you're not going to understand on this show.
Oh, we'll see. It helps when you tell me 12 hours in advance that you're gonna reference something. And even then when I look it up, it's like, okay, all right.
Didn't that you spent
Um,
the afternoon listening to Sammy Kershaw's discography.
I you know that that's definitely what I did all afternoon.
Yeah, well, you're a serious journalist. I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yes. I'm super serious. I definitely did not do a murder this afternoon. Um,
Oh,
so yeah, I know, right? Like Narcissus said, I definitely did not do one, you know? Um, so while we discuss whether or not I'm going to jail, let's go to the intro of the show with Bob and Dutch.
Welcome to another exciting, action-packed hour of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Professional wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it. Hi, wrestling fans. I'm Bob Caudle along with Dr. Dirty Dutch Mantell. And we got a great hour in store for all you fans this week. In action right here, we're going to see the Rock and Roll Express. Jim Cornette and the Moondogs are going to be Dutch. That's bad for your health. The Moondogs, you know, they're barred from appearing on television in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. They're not licensed in Smoky Mountain Wrestling at all. We're going to take a look at a tape of Mike Furnish in training. Also, how about drawing for our Beat the Champ, huh?
Okay, my special deal in life is to draw for the Beat the Champ, and today, to keep down any pretense of impropriety, I'm going to stick my hand in here, and the man to face Tim Horner today will be Killer Kyle will face Tim Horner today in the Beat the Champ contest right here on Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
And Dutch is going to have Down and Dirty. Wait a minute, Dirty White Boy.
Tell you something, I bugged and pestered the promoters of Smoky. That's coming up today on TV. Me and Primetime Brian Lee for the Smoky Mountain heavyweight title.
Fans, we told you it's going to be a great hour, and we're about ready with the action. Dutch, this is going to be a wild one.
A wild one.
Let's go to the ring, fans.
So I think Dutch needs to petition the board of directors here because he's apparently not allowed to get smoke breaks. Now he's resorted to blatantly smoking right here on the television.
I well, I feel like you could just not do it right then. Like maybe that's the one time. Like maybe any other time when you're not on TV. But on the other hand, the visual of Dutch standing there in a poncho smoking a cigarette was pretty cool. So I like it from that angle.
Did you suddenly get this desire to be like Dutch and wear a poncho and smoke a cigarette?
I don't care for cigarettes, but I do admire the poncho. I have a poncho that I bought at like a little market, like a flea market type place down in Matamoros.
Now you live in Texas. Is it racist of me to assume that anybody who lives in Texas is automatically given a poncho?
No, no. If you want an authentic one, you got to go to Mexico and get it yourself, which is what I did. Well, funnily, I wanted some lucha masks because when you go to Mexico, you do as do as the Romans do. So I got myself an El Santo mask. And here's the thing. Here's the moment that I appreciated how famous El Santo really is. This was like 2018, and El Santo died in like 1984, and I'm just standing there in a market with the El Santo mask on, and people are going, "Fuck it, it's El Santo!" Like years later. So yeah, no bullshit. El Santo was pretty famous.
And here I thought it was special that Harper Lee is putting out a new book 10 years after she
Oh,
died.
What the fuck? Is this going to be the same asshole profiting from it that profited from the last one that probably never should have seen the light of day?
To Kill a Mockingbird? You didn't think To Kill a Mockingbird should see the light of day?
No, the sequel that came out like 10 years ago. What was it called? Ghost at a Watchman.
I have no fucking idea what book you're talking about.
How do you Arya? How do you know about this new Harper Lee book, and you don't
Because
know
it
that they published another Harper Lee, like when she was still alive? They published this book, and everybody made a
well,
big deal
that's
out of it
it's
because
not news when somebody puts out a book when they're alive.
it was
This is
though because
literally
it's
new.
Harper Lee. Because it's Harper Lee, you only ever published the one book, and it's like one of the most famous books in American history that everybody reads in fucking high school. It was a big deal. I don't know how you missed
They
this.
they don't anymore, but uh, that's a story for
Oh
another
shit,
day.
you're probably right. Oh, that's man. I read that in fucking public school in Arkansas in the
Yep.
early 2000s.
It didn't. I don't know
Uh,
what I don't know what was
you
so negative
know,
about.
this
Uh,
upsets me so much because I feel like we need to explain to the children today that there was a time where society was generally moving into a direction that most people agreed that racism was bad.
I just like to think that you think that children are listening to this show, so you're giving them a lesson on how
Well,
bad racism is. You know that if anybody's actually listening to the show this week, we'll get accused of being woke. Like, that's a bad thing.
hey,
Um,
look. Hey, listen. Woke literally just means that you are cognizant of the world around you, that you choose to not close your eyes to societal injustice. So the alternative to being woke is choosing to be ignorant, and I'm never going to choose to be ignorant. I'm not saying I'm never going to
I-
be ignorant, but I'm never going to be ignorant by choice.
Out of curiosity, how the hell did we get here?
I don't know,
I
but Ghost Set of Watchmen was published in 2015, and Harper
well,
Lee died in 2016.
yes, but now she's putting out a book in 2025. You see why this is a big deal.
I guarantee that this is the only Smoky Mountain Wrestling review podcast talking about Harper Lee.
I think that's a safe bet. Um, yeah, this probably would be the only one.
Like
So
if you don't
let
understand, like, see, this is what I'm saying. There is a brand of podcasting that is so distinctly us that cannot be anything else.
pretty
And
much. I
a perfect example is getting from the Dirty White Boy getting a title shot on TV to Harper Lee publishing a
we,
post-mortem novel.
we didn't even talk about that. We were talking about Dutch smoking and you buying a poncho and an El Santo mask. And I've been trying desperately to say go bust up a shiffer robe, but haven't been able to sneak that one in yet.
Oh, I will never forget a robe because of that book.
Yes. I'm not even 100% sure what a shiffer robe is, except it's okay to
it's
pay you to go bust one up in the back.
it's somewhere between a wardrobe and a dresser, I think, to my
Okay,
understanding.
that makes sense. Oh Lord. By the way, yeah, Dirty White Boy storms in and he says he's going to get a Smoky Mountain title match. I don't know
Okay,
how he has the right to do that, but what the hell?
so what do you think? What do you think he said or did to the Smoky Mountain Wrestling promoters to get a title shot here in Newton, North Carolina?
I picture he just confronted like Brian Hildebrand in the corner of the dressing room going, "Hey Brian, I want a title shot tonight." Brian's like, "Sure."
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Let's go with that.
Um, by the way, we're gonna see Mike Furnace training, and I actually have something nice to say about Tim Horner and Mike Furnace today.
I forgot that Horner was also in the Mike Furnace segments, and when I saw Horner in the Mike Furnace segment, I was just appalled all over again.
Look at that. By the way, I love the fact that the Moondogs are here, even though they're banned from Smoky Mountain Television.
Yeah, but they can't have a match. They can
No,
just fight the guys who are conveniently there to have a match.
how convenient. Here are two guys. We don't know who the hell they were supposed to be wrestling because nobody else had ever been mentioned on this show as wrestling, but what the hell, right? Well, before we review the rest of the show first, let's talk about Jason West versus Bobby Blaze. And oh my God, this is the building with the yellow wall. Um, I don't, I forget if you were here yet, but they were in this building before, and it's all yellow, and it drove me crazy because it was too much yellow between the yellow wall, the yellow ropes. Is this like okay? Can we get another color in here? Just anywhere.
And excessive
Um,
yellow.
yes.
But
By the
this
way,
was
the United States Junior Heavyweight title was introduced like 7 weeks ago on this show, and the one thing we kept bringing up, or at least I kept bringing up because that's my thing, is that they never told us the weight limit for the Junior Heavyweight title match. And since we never found out what the weight limit was, Prince Karis could very well get a title shot because we don't know what the weight limit is. Well, apparently that temporal ham radio made its way to 93 Smoky Mountain because JC's like, we got to sneak this on the TV so Prince Karis doesn't get a title shot. And it's 230 pounds, which in 2025, like 90% of the wrestlers in every company would qualify for the U.S. Junior Heavyweight title.
so. What do you think? What do you think the proper weight limit for a lighter weight division should be in pro wrestling?
See, like I just said, the problem is because like
Yeah, I agree.
we
It
live in a
doesn't
day and
work at
age
being.
where, yeah, like it has
Yeah,
to be like really, really small. Like at this point, I'd say really, really small is like a stretch of the imagination, but like I'd say like 175 pounds.
see, I think I would do 205 or maybe actually a nice round two. Okay, in Japan it's 100 kilos. How much is 100 kilos?
It's about 202, 203, isn't it?
That's about right, I think.
Yeah. And
You remember when Lance Storm had like every mid card belt in WCW and he made the cruiserweight title the 100 kilos and under title?
yeah, and I don't think he's 100 kilos or under.
Well, that's why he gave the belt to Primetime Elix Skipper. Oh my God.
He-
One of my favorite moments ever is,
by the way, I
fucking.
was really off. It's 220. I got my two and my zero backwards.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, your favorite moment in wrestling?
Oh, oh, it's just something that's burned into my memory because it made me laugh was that Primetime's music was like I built this house. This is my house. And it's the whole thing about it is about how he built this house. And then after that 70s guy, Mike Awesome, turned heel and joined the Canadians, and that 70s bus became that Canadian bus. There's like an episode of Thunder, I think, where they have Elix stand guard with the bus, and then he's sitting there pretending to drive the bus and just going, "This is my bus. I built this bus." And that made me laugh when I was 13, and it still makes me laugh.
I do not remember that. I just remember the Lance Storm story that I wish he would have done, just to see if it would air. But it was when Mike Awesome joined Team Canada and they were being given the bus, and it said in the script that Lance was to put the bus over huge. And so he told Major Guns that when the camera comes up, he's going to crawl under the bus and have them count to three. Because if he's going to put the bus over, he's going to put the bus over.
Oh,
That would have
that's
been
true.
fantastic. And you wonder, like, especially like in 2001, who the hell would have gotten that? Oh,
That's
um,
such a Lance joke.
um, by the way, Title brings up the turkey title match at the second annual Thanksgiving Thunder, where Blaze wrestles Candido, and the champion will be the loser of the match, and they get tarred and feathered. Blaze wins with a Northern Lights suplex in the opening squash match you see every single week on this television program.
So,
Um,
to their credit, I will say that that was a very nice Northern Light suplex hold. Bobby Blaze, well done.
yes, it was a very nice Northern Lights suplex. I still think that that dirty white boy feud did him a lot more harm than good. Um, but
Yeah, I don't, I don't think that was good booking for him. But maybe the time, the goal of, maybe at the time they didn't realize that they were going to have to do good booking for Bobby Blaze eventually.
um, let's see. Let's go to Bob Cotto standing by with the WWA World Heavyweight Champion and the United States Junior Heavyweight Champion, Chris Candido.
All right, Dutch, and right you 100%. What a great win that was for Bobby Blaze and fans. That shows you that Bobby Blaze is ready, he's prepared, and he's waiting on this man right here, Chris Candido, for Thanksgiving Thunder. I guess Blaze showed you something right there.
He didn't show me nothing. Once again, Smoky Mountain Wrestling has proved me right and proved that they're the most backward organization in professional sports. The most ridiculous thing I ever heard, a turkey title match. The loser of the match is the winner of the turkey title. And you don't get a belt like this. Who cares about that? You don't get a beautiful belt like this one, a trophy, a plaque. The loser, the winner of the turkey title gets tarred and feathered. So Bobby Blaze at Thanksgiving Thunder, you thought swimming in that river was something. Get ready to get tarred and feathered, you turkey.
All right, fans, Thanksgiving Thunder. It all comes down then. We'll be right back. We'll have more action after this.
All right. So, did Chris Candido shop at the Brian Christopher gear store? Maybe it was just me, but like his gear was very too sexy Brian Christopher. You know, the black vest with like the gold dots all over it. And the matching trunks.
Well,
Like,
maybe he had to go to Memphis to find some menswear.
like I said, maybe I'm crazy, but I could swear Brian Christopher has worn that vest before. You know.
So this
Uh,
this turkey title where the loser is the turkey champion. It
yes.
reminds me of many years ago. And I'm sure you did the same. When I would get a Pro Wrestling Illustrated, I would go to the results section and just read every result from all over the wrestling world. And I
I would love
remember,
those.
yeah, I remember that one time and I can't remember. It was like I don't know, some indie show from somewhere, and the wrestler was like homeless Jimmy, and the other one was somebody, and they had the pity champion, whoever defeated so and so. So then so and so became the pity champion because the it's for the worst wrestler. And I always thought that that was a funny idea for like a reverse championship.
Um, I don't remember that one, but yeah. So oh yeah, what was I gonna say? I don't remember what the hell I was gonna say, so it must have been a porn or it must have been a lie. By the way, Chris Candido, speaking of Lance Storm, Chris Candido is trying to avoid becoming Smoky Mountain's first triple champion. Because if he wins
uh,
or if he loses, he's gonna be the triple champion in Smoky Mountain.
well, you don't want that when yeah.
Oh, and I guess he wasn't on the show last week. When did Chris Candido get the U.S. Junior Heavyweight title back?
Let's see. What date was this taping?
November
Okay,
8th.
this taping was November 8th. I
Yeah, I'm not
want
ask
to
I'm not I'm not
say
I'm not asking when did he defeat Bobby Blaze to win the title. I mean when he left the title by the riverbed when Bobby Blaze chased them away, when did he get the belt back? Like the actual physical title belt back.
after fucking Bobby Blaze was winded for running up the slippery ass hill while he was wet as shit, Candido ran back down to get it.
There you go. I don't think the cameraman like picked it up like, oh Chris, you left this. Like, God damn it, I was trying to throw that in the river. It's like that old Jeff Foxworthy joke, back before he was the dickhead that he is now. But
Oh,
when you have a cheap pair of sunglasses, you can't get rid of those things. If you're on the cruise in the middle of the ocean, you lean over, they fall into the water. Someone will come up and say, "Hey, anyone found a pair of glasses up there?" So
yeah,
that's what it's like with the
Billy
U.S. Junior
Ball or
Heavyweight
Jeff
title.
Foxworthy. Yeah,
Yes.
that's funny. Uh, by the way, I was wrong. It hasn't happened yet. Uh, November 13th in Morristown, they'll close the loop, and Chris Candido will defeat Bobby Blaze for the title, despite being the champion on TV.
Okay. To be fair, you didn't mention the first half of that. I feel like we're missing half of your comment.
Oh, what was the other half of my comment?
I don't know. You just said, "Oh, and to finish this up, it was November 13th when he
Oh,
defeats."
oh, because I thought you were asking me when
No,
Candido beat Bobby Blaze to win the junior heavyweight title, because there was the
nope,
deal where they had done like the
a whole bunch of
three switches
yeah.
on house shows and one on TV, with the one on TV aired happened before the ones on the house shows, but aired after the ones on the house shows.
Yep, yep. I was just asking, when do you think he went back and grabbed it by the river?
Yeah, well,
Yeah. After November
after
13th?
Bobby Blaze went and put some dry clothes on.
All right. So let's go now to the Southern-eyed white boy, Tracy Smothers, who's with his good friend Bob Caudle. I'm starting to think Bob Caudle's his only real friend in this territory. But let's go to that right now.
Fans with me right now. Here is the wild-eyed Southern boy, Tracy Smothers. And Tracy, we got our heavyweight title match. Primetime Brian Lee and the Dirty White Boy coming up in just a moment. And you've got more than a passing interest in this match.
Boy, you darn gum right. Man, I tell you, that's a main event that sell out anywhere in the country. But, man, speaking for myself, the last few months here, boy, things looked awful bad for the home team, man. You do your best and you go out and you give it your best shot, and sometimes it just ain't enough. And whether it's fair and foul play or not, I can't make any excuses. I vowed to get the Smoky Mountain heavyweight title back, and doggone it, I just ain't got the job done. It's hard enough fighting a guy that's 6'6" and 280 pounds, but when you got that little two-bit tramp, Tammy Fytch, it makes it double tough. But man, I want the winner. Yep. I don't care who wins. I don't care if they kill each other. I want the winner of that match, because I want to get that title back where it belongs, around my waist and back in the South.
I can tell, and you can tell, too, you got a lot of fans here pulling for you.
Yeah,
they want the same thing.
I just want the winner.
Tracy Smothers, the wild-eyed Southern boy, wants the winners of this match, which is going to be coming up. By the way, it's going to be a wild match, no doubt about it, with the Dirty White Boy, Primetime Brian Lee. Tracy, I got to ask you, will you stay right here with us at ringside?
Yeah.
Let's watch this match, and how about doing a little talking with me during this match?
Well, I'll tell you what, I know the Dirty White Boy's got a lot of fans now, Bob, but it's awful hard for me to accept him as a friend or as an ally, all the stuff he's done to me. People have asked me, they say, do you like him? I say, no, I don't like him. I got no reason to like him. I got no reason to trust him.
All right, fans, right now, let's go to the ring. We're ready for action.
So why didn't Jim Cornette listen to Tracy Smothers? Tracy just said that Primetime Brian Lee versus Dirty White Boy could sell out any arena in the country. And now, keeping in mind, still didn't want to leave the South, even if he got a good money deal or whatever, which is fine. But, why didn't he go to, like, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but Neyland Stadium, where the Tennessee Volunteers play football at? He could have got like
Or
100,000 people in that damn stadium.
he could have sold out. He could have gone to Atlanta and sold out the Omni.
Well, the Omni, I mean, that only holds 14, 15, 16,000 people. A giant football stadium, think about the money you're going to rake in. He probably could have told, what's his
Oh my
name,
God!
to take his money and shove it up, take his money and his mummy and shove it up his ass, because he just made millions off of a football stadium show.
Imagine the Bullets handpicked opponent by Jim Cornette for the Omni, Larry Labisco.
Unfortunately, Larry Labisco was doing commentary on WCW Pro at this point, or I don't think he wasn't doing Saturday Night, right? That was Shivani and Ventura.
No, it's still Shivani and Jesse.
And then he gets replaced by Bobby Heenan. who gets replaced eventually by Dusty Rhodes, and Shivani gets replaced by, I think, Scott. I think he probably goes to Mike Tenay and then Scott Hudson, and then Dusty gets replaced, I think, by Zbyszko. So we eventually get Zbyszko back on WCW Saturday Night. It just takes till the bitter end of WCW. Do you
Yeah.
remember when in 2000 they made it WCW Saturday Morning, and
Yes.
it was like at
And
10
it
a.m. or whatever?
and it was like the same thing as like WWF Livewire.
Yes, only it wasn't the live wire where they were like taking live calls. This was just,
No,
a recap
yeah,
show.
no, I never saw that version of Livewire. By the time I came along, Livewire, it, Livewire and Superstars were the same thing, except Livewire was like clips of Raw and Superstars was clips of SmackDown, which was like I always made a point to watch Superstars because I didn't get SmackDown, but I got Superstars.
I don't even remember why, but we rarely, if ever, watched SmackDown on Thursday nights. It would always air Saturday night at 8 o'clock on our UPN 9 channel, like as a replay. So we would just watch it then.
I have I have noted this before, but it's a true story about me. Like about 2002, I was in ninth grade, and I had this girlfriend who I stayed with for probably a couple months longer than I wanted to, because she got UPN at her house, so I could go over there on Thursdays and watch SmackDown.
I, why does that not surprise me at all?
Well, hey, I wouldn't have gotten to see John Cena's WWE debut if not for that. So I regret nothing.
Yes. Oh, you never saw Paul Heyman's call in to Livewire, did you?
I think I've seen like the clip of it.
Yeah. I tried to call into that show like every week, but I could never get through.
It's funny.
Yep. And but yeah, the Paul Heyman thing, it's like because I was an ECW watcher, and so all of a sudden, like I'm half paying attention to Livewire, and Paul Heyman, the voice of Paul Heyman has appeared on my television set. Like, what the frick is going on here? And I think that was like the last real thing they did until the ECW edition of Raw. Um,
Yeah,
Good times, great memories.
indeed.
Yep. By the way, where the hell were we? Oh yeah, we're at the alleged Smoky Mountain title match. The match that
Hey,
could oh, by
I
the way,
heard a
Tracy said,
bell. I heard a bell. This was an official match.
by the way, we're Durgon right. Tracy is interested in the Smoky Mountain title match.
They're
And then he
gone
said
right.
he wants the winner even if they kill each other. And I'm like, well, that would probably make it easier to win if they're both dead. Although knowing Tracy Smothers' luck, Tammy Witch with a capital B would like spray him in the face with hairspray, and Primetime Brian Lee would somehow fall on top of him for the win. But he's gonna stay and do commentary for the heavyweight title match, which is next, the second match on the show. Primetime Brian Lee with Tammy Witch with a capital B versus the Dirty White Boy. And oh no, Primetime Brian Lee is hurt. He had a little accident the other day and he shattered his wrist. And he comes out with his wrist in a sling, and he's not going to be able to wrestle and defend the belt for 6 to 8 months.
Oh
What
no.
what a bad break for our champion here. This guy gets some really bad luck when he's champion and feuding with Dirty White Boy. First time he gets a bounty put on his head and Kevin Sullivan debuts and massacres him. And then this time he breaks his wrist and is going to be out for half a year. And then Dirty White Boy shows, what kind of guy he is because he goes after the hurt man. But oh my God, it's a miracle. It turned out Brian Lee healed. Hallelujah. Put your hand up to the TV screen here because primetime Brian Lee is okay, everybody. Um, and he had some brass knucks in his sling. White Boy got them. Tammy tried to spray him with hairspray, but White Boy avoided it, and she sprayed Mark Curtis in the face with hairspray.
Oh,
And
poor Mark Curtis.
Mark Curtis is dead. Well, I mean,
Mark Curtis. Oh,
Mark Curtis died 6 years before he really died, because he gets hit with the hairspray in the face, and we don't see him again.
no.
He goes out of the ring, and he is unconscious, ladies and gentlemen. He may still be there to this day. And then Brian Lee got a towel, and I was excited because I thought he was pulling out the Ether Bunny, but no, it was just the towel he's using to choke White Boy with. White Boy gets the advantage and spanks Tammy, but Brian takes back over. We have a 2-on-1. Tracy's on commentary. Now, here's the you could say Tracy's a dick because Tracy is not leaving the broadcast table to help Dirty White Boy. Now, even if you ignore, I mean, you can't because that's a story, but even if you ignore their hatred from before, it makes sense because if Tracy runs in for the save, it's not a fair fight because it's two babyface full-grown men versus one grown man and one very petite woman. So how do you even the odds when the other side has a very large man and a small woman? You bring in the Dirty White Girl.
Yes.
The Dirty White Girl, Kimberly, is her name, I believe. And she was so excited for this, like she was tripping over herself getting into this ring to yank Tammy off of her man. And those two, Tammy and Brian, go running for the hills. And we have a new babyface duo. And can I just say,
no idea. I had no idea it was coming, and it was so good.
Okay, so I'm going to wait to tell you about the Dirty White Girl until I play this promo. She is the most perfect human being to play somebody named the Dirty White Girl.
Oh, I got to know everything. Oh, I got to know everything about her.
This is like perfect casting, even though it's like she's been around for a while. Like this isn't like she's not a brand new person out of nowhere. But let's go to the White Boy and the White Girl doing a promo together. And we'll be back in 2 minutes and 31 seconds.
Primetime Brian Lee came into the ring with a pair of brass knucks. He was ready to really turn your lights out. But one thing I got to say, Tracy Smothers over here, we said you needed some help. You didn't have a friend in the world. Nobody here to help you but the Dirty White Girl.
You better believe it. Everybody thinks that the White Boy's a man with no country. I have no friends. And I've done a lot of bad things in my career. But one person has always stood beside me, right or wrong, and I'm talking about none other than the Dirty White Girl. And Miss Tammy Fytch, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. What do you got to say, White Girl?
You listen up here, Miss Fetch. As long as I'm standing on the face of this earth, you or no other bimbo, as long as I'm around, will put your hands on this man. And if you don't think for one moment I won't rip your throat out and spit down your neck, honey, you better think again. I will go from one end of this country to the other side to kick your butt, you little bitch.
Strong word.
Tammy Fytch, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes for $1 million. But Primetime Brian Lee, what you've got to worry about is not the Dirty White Girl. Tough guy. You've got to worry about me. I've took a lot of big men. I've chopped every one of them down. I've put a lot of them out of professional wrestling. And by God, I'm still standing here. So what's going to happen, my dear friend? Thanksgiving Thunder, you are going to put that title on the line against me. And you want to guess what else? The Dirty White Girl will be in my corner at Thanksgiving Thunder. Regardless whether you like it or not, that's the way it's going to be, Primetime. So the best thing I can tell you in that bimbo little sluzz is cinch it up tight, come straight on, because the White Boy and the White Girl will be standing looking straight across the ring at you. And we didn't get the name, the Dirty White Boy or Dirty White Girl, by helping old ladies across the street. I got the name, she got the name, purely by beating people up. Now that is something you've got to learn to live with, regardless whether you like it or not. Let's rock and roll, baby.
All right, action. Let's go to.
All right. So literally, if you closed your eyes and pictured somebody who would be called the dirty white girl, this is the person you would think of. And she is the only way she could have been more the exact opposite of Tammy is if she was a black woman. You know what I mean?
Look again. I know this woman. I have known this exact woman in my life. Amazing. Perfect. Oh my God. I'm in love. I've moved on from Margie. The queen is dead. Long live the queen. And by queen, I mean the queen of my double wide trailer.
Oh Lord. So like here's the thing. It's like everything about Tammy. Tammy is a very prim, very proper young lady. She's from the north. She wears nice dresses. She gets manicures. She gets her hair done. She, you know, she throws hissy fits, but she's proper. She's rich. She comes from good breeding. And the dirty white girl is nothing of the sort. I don't think she
Okay.
knows what a hairbrush is. Like
Okay.
that was the frizziest hair I've seen, and I see myself in the morning every day when I get up and out of bed. She cusses. She dresses like someone who shops at the nickel and dime store. Uh, she's like, if you think of like total white trash, that's what the dirty white girl is. And
Okay.
she is fucking perfect.
I have to explain this. I mean, and it's kind of complicated, but I promise it's worth it. Okay, I am going to have to later on. I'm gonna tell my wife about the dirty white girl, and I'm gonna say one line that will tell my wife everything she needs to know about the dirty white girl. And the line is, "Do him like you done Donnie." It's because it's something that we reference all the time. There's a bit by a very funny comedian named Greg Warren, talking about seeing a big fight at a white trash wedding. And this guy's girlfriend just gets up and leaves, and then comes back in with a log and says, "Do him like you done, Donnie." And that's a woman that supports her man, knows his weapons of choice, knows when he needs it, and just does what is needed of her, no questions asked. And I am telling you, the dirty white girl is the essence of "Do him like you done, Donnie."
I want to believe that you wanted specifically to wait until after we do this show before you tell your wife about the dirty white girl.
I just hadn't I thought of it because I hadn't thought about it all day because I watched this like early this morning and then I took a nap, so it just wasn't on my mind.
All right. So the tag team champions, Rock and Roll Express versus Robbie Eagle and a man by the name of John Hitchcock. All I wrote about
Okay,
this match was Gibson pinned Mrs. Hitchcock's John with a double drop kick.
okay, John Hitchcock is everything that I want in a jobber. All right, this dude looks like he worked 8 hours at the furniture factory that day, and then drove down to the Newton Recreation System and put out his trunks to wrestle the Rock and Roll Express. Just the most generic dude. Perfect. Perfect enhancement wrestler.
Yes. They've been finding some great enhancement wrestlers, if not if not in style, then at least in ability. Like Juicy Johnny, he was a great enhancement wrestler.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I think
they're either good workers or they look perfect.
yes. And unfortunately, I think we've seen the end of Juicy Johnny. I'm sad to
Oh, that's a
report.
shame. That's a shame.
Yes. So, if anything else you'd like to say about our tag team champions and the
Uh,
man who is not Robbie Eagles?
they won with a double drop kick. The same thing happens every week in two different shows that we watch.
Hey, they're here to stay. They ain't here to play. Although
You
we
know,
haven't
I
been
haven't
told that
heard
in
lately. I
way
don't
too
even
long.
know. Are they, maybe they are just here to play now, and that's why they're not telling us.
That would make so much sense. Plus, you can't say they're here to stay because they're in the WWF.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
yeah. So, good Lord. We're losing the Rock and Roll Express somehow, even though we're not really losing them. All right. So before Down and Dirty with Dutch, for the second time this week, we have a music video about the Bruise Brothers. This time set to Get a Haircut by George Thorogood and the Destroyers. And I gotta tell you now, I don't know, like, because obviously they are both neo-Nazis, or at least one of them is. I honestly don't know if they both are or not, but at least one of them's a neo-Nazi. But like, how deep, I guess, is it? Like, are they actually racist in the strictest sense of the word? I don't know. I don't know them. I've never met them. I'd have no intention to meet them. But I do think it's hilarious that we saw two music videos for two teams named the Bruise Brothers, and one is Ron and Don Harris, and the other was oh my God, who was it? It was Pork Chop, Cash, and Dream Machine.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you know what would be really funny to do? You do you do this
confuse the
whole
two of them.
video. You do this whole video where it's the Bruise Brothers and the song is telling them to get a haircut and get a real job, and then at the very end you show them as creative control.
I thought you were gonna say to do this whole music video and then at the end show an interview with the other Bruise Brothers because they look so much alike. Do you remember when
Older
Paul
Bruise
Heyman
Brothers at least dress like creative control.
remember when the whatchamacallit when Paul Heyman was the GM of SmackDown and they turned the Dudley Boys heel and every week they'd have someone wrestle the Dudley, but he wouldn't tell you which one it was because they look exactly alike.
I don't remember that. I wasn't. I don't think I had SmackDown yet. I did not get SmackDown until 2005 when they moved
Uh
to the CW.
Fridays.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think Friday was in 2005, and the CW was 2006. I remember the summer of 2006 because since they were on Fridays, they were being preempted every fucking week for baseball, and so it's like nobody watched SmackDown for like 3 months, and I don't think anybody cared.
It's a
Um,
bummer.
but by the way, we got that Bruise Brothers music video before Down and Dirty with Dutch. Because yes, the Harris's are on here, and I have some breaking news when we get to the end of this. Okay, I hope you're
Okay.
ready for this.
All
But
right.
let's go to Down and Dirty with the Harris's.
Bruise Brothers, guys, step in here. Now, you've had some troubles in the past, but I want the Heavenly Bodies are next on the agenda, and I just want you to tell the fans of Smoky Mountain exactly what you got planned for them.
All right, let's get this straight. Jim Cornette, you got a gang fight match with us. You're a pretty little boy. You're running around with two pretty other little boys. This ain't a wrestling match. This is a gang fight. It took a lot of guts for you to come into a bar, to come down where we run, where we conduct business every day. We fight every damn day of our life. Jim Cornette, you had guts to come get us. So now, you climbing in the ring with us for a gang fight. You try to control us. You underpay us. You treat us like garbage. Well, boy, let me tell you something. You look at my face, you look at his face. And damn it, if you think I'm kidding, you take a closer look, because I'm finally gonna get my hands on you and the Heavenly Bodies, and I'm gonna kick your as far as I can kick it, because I've been waiting and waiting. I've had time off. You've done everything to me that you shouldn't have, and by God, I'm coming for you. And don't think I'm playing. This is an all-out fight, and I'm coming.
All right, fans, there you heard it from the Bruise Brothers. We'll be back in 120 seconds. Don't go away.
All right. So we've been watching way too many fucking Harris Brothers promos, and Christ knows between this and TNA, I've seen more than my fucking fair share lately of Harris Brothers promos. But because I've seen so many fucking Harris Brothers promos, I was pretty sure I knew which one was which just by their voice and the inflections. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is Ron, but I needed to test this theory. I needed to find out the reality. And I noticed that the one who wasn't talking had a tattoo of a skull on his right bicep, and the other one did not. So I went and Googled that shit. And sure enough, the one with the skull on his right arm is Don Harris. So the one that was talking was Ron. So yes, I figured out the way to tell the two Harrises apart.
Okay.
I'm happy for my blessings.
Finally.
Yes.
Well, the only reason that I understand these promos is because I grew up around drunk rednecks. I had a thought. I understand that the Bruise Brothers are supposed to be baby faces and Dutch is nominally a heel. But like, wouldn't it be better for everybody if Dutch talked for these guys?
Yes, it would. But we can't have. Hey, every time someone gets put with the Harris Brothers, they have to leave the territory. So, we don't need that. We don't need Dutch to leave before he's ready to leave. Which, by the way, is coming way too soon. In case you're curious.
Foreboding.
So, but by the way, I was ready to mark out a little bit at the beginning of this promo because Ron squats a bit, and I thought he was making a sly comment about coming down to, the Heavenly Bodies level or Jim Cornette's level because, they're a lot shorter than they are. And no, he just was squatting a little bit and then just stood back up and was getting his exercise in. He was squatting a lot. Up, down, up, down, up, down.
I mean, all that little movement adds up.
Yeah, I'd say maybe he didn't get in his stretches before the show started. So yeah, the Harrises are feuding with the Heavenly Bodies, and in case that isn't a tag team feud that's gonna set the world on fire, it is peak Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll Express compared to Rock and Roll Express's new opponents, who are out for a promo next. Let's go to Jim Cornette and the team that is banned from Smoky Mountain Television, but is here on Smoky Mountain Television, the Moondogs.
All right, fans, right now, Jim Cornette and that whistle and the guys that we've been hearing an awful lot about. No wonder these guys are not licensed in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. There's a perfectly good example of why.
Let me explain something to everybody out here right now. Smoky Mountain Wrestling is trying to protect some more of their fair-haired boys. I got the Moondogs from the swamps of Louisiana. I brought them all the way to Smoky Mountain Wrestling for one reason, to finish off the Rock and Roll Express. And what does Smoky Mountain do? They say, these guys are too wild. They're too crazy. We deny them a license. They have denied them access to hotels, motels, restaurants. They've barred them, tried to have them arrested. Well, let me explain something. Nobody does that to Jim Cornette or any tag team that I want to bring to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Because what do? What do, Bob Caudle, when you got somebody on your property and you don't want them there? You sick the dogs on them, baby. And that's exactly what I'm doing to the Rock and Roll. Now, wait a minute, boy. Wait a minute. Now, they say that the Moondogs cannot wrestle on Smoky Mountain Wrestling, but I see a couple of guys in the ring right now. Why can't we wrestle them?
You can't wrestle. Jim, why? You know why not.
Why
the
not?
Guys are not licensed. They can't wrestle in Smoky Mountain.
You know what? I'm going to give them a license right now. Moondogs, sick 'em.
No, Jim. No. Jim Cornette said sick 'em, and the dogs went tearing out after him in the ring.
All right. So the Moondogs, one of them, I think one of them is the same Moondog Spot who was randomly on TNA this week for more on this week's random cameo on TNA, listen to the TNA show yesterday. But spoiler alert, it was Moondog Spot walking to the ring during a tag team match and then walking to the back. Yeah, that's all he did. And
Compelling.
ostensibly he got paid for that. And the other Moondog, I didn't bother to look up what his name was, but I said it looked like a blonde Dick Murdoch on a bender. So in other words, a
Uh,
blonde Dick Murdoch.
so
Um,
Cornette said that Smoky Mountain Wrestling had kept the Moondogs out of hotels and motels, and I
mhm.
just imagined Pam in her office at the bank calling every motel in East Tennessee and Eastern Kentucky and telling them, "Don't rent these fucking Moondogs a room." Jim Cornette said so. Or I guess you couldn't
the,
break
the
kayfabe. Sandy Scott said so.
Sandy Scott and Brian Hildebrand said no.
Typical.
Maybe that's why they had to get the oh my God, what was the name of that hotel that a bunch of the guys stayed at that Jericho stayed at when he was there?
Uh, the Smoky Mountain Flophouse.
Yes. That's why they had to get the
Uh,
flop house for because the Moondogs couldn't be let in anywhere else.
that makes a lot of sense. But
Yeah.
it was convenient that there just happened to be two fellas waiting in the ring for somebody to wander by and kick their asses.
Yes, Johnny Wild and John Patterson, you know,
Huh.
in case you're curious what their names were. And by the way, what the hell? Did they go to the John factory this week for jobbers?
I guess so.
Because yeah, we got well, except for Jason West, who's not a new jobber, we got three new jobbers, and they're all named John. Hitchcock, and then Wild and Patterson. Um, I wrote, not sure who was supposed to wrestle Wild and Patterson since no other team had even been announced as having a match this week. And
Well,
um, okay,
process
I
of
will say this.
elimination. Process
Yeah,
of elimination. You'd have to think Armstrong brothers, right?
we're the Heavenly Bodies.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Eh,
maybe that's it. Maybe that's why Cornette set this up because it's not a big deal for the Heavenly Bodies to not have this enhancement match. He can use it as an example for these Moondogs.
Maybe Jim bought their contract from himself and sold it to the Moondogs.
There we go.
Yeah.
But you know what? As far as like these these
I,
Moondogs are just killing these poor fuckers, and Cornette's like overcutting a promo, and just I get between that I got to call this a win.
I wrote, I will say this that we're not going to get our quarterly 3-star match out of a Moondogs match. However,
No.
for 1 week, watching them beat up jobbers with chairs, trash cans, and a vacuum cleaner is at least different. And I
Yeah.
thought it led to the funniest thing I've seen on this show in months. They beat them down up by the announce desk, and Cornette takes Cottle's mic and attempts to interview Patterson and Wild while they're laying unconscious.
Yeah.
And they were not, those guys were not being professional because they did not answer the questions. They did not cut a
Yeah.
promo. Um, and then what I thought was actually the funniest part about all this, and it was unintentionally funny too. So Patterson and Wild are laid out. They're unconscious. They're by the broadcast table. And standing next to them is Bob Caudle just nonchalantly pitching it to commercial.
But Bob Cottle's just unflappable.
He's a professional, goddammit.
You know what? Like,
Uh,
I don't have any problem with bringing in these Moondogs to work a house show program with the rock and roll. Like you said, it's something different.
I will say, fine, but I know it lasts longer than a house show program with the Rock and Roll Express.
Okay,
It's
well,
like
that's valid. I don't know all of
yeah,
that.
yeah. I'll just say it's like there may be times in a few weeks where we're like, okay, can we skip the Moondog segments?
Oh,
Uh, but hey, maybe maybe not. Maybe, it'll be somehow better, this time around. All right.
Yeah.
So from here we go to Bullet Bob Armstrong's gym, where he's nice enough to allow his good friend the Bullet to work out in the gym. And
What
the
a
Bullet's
guy.
got something to say. Yeah, I know. He's a great guy. He's got something to say about the second annual Thanksgiving Thunder. And then that's going to segue into a Kevin Sullivan promo.
Well, everybody's wondering what happened to the Bullet. He got toasted like a marshmallow. But at Thanksgiving Thunder Part 2, Kevin Sullivan, alias the Master, and you too, Cornette, I'm going to be looking at both of you. You see, you burnt all the hair off my eyebrows, you burnt my eyelashes off, and I won't be seeing right for a couple of weeks, but I don't have to see right. All I've got to do is see an image. And I'll know that little fire plug, Kevin Sullivan, when I see him, and when I get my hands on him, you're going to curse the day that the caveman invented fire, because that fireball's what's got you into this mess. And I want you to please do that voodoo that you do so well at Thanksgiving Thunder, because I'm going to chew up your voodoo dolls, and I'm going to spit out splinters. James E. Cornette, I know you're behind it, brother, but you tried to take me down before and you couldn't do it. And thank goodness the Bullet has come to save Bob Armstrong. He's let me use his gym here, so I'm getting ready. Before all this mess is over, Bob Armstrong will be commissioner again, and I'll tell you what, you've got about as much chance as a snowball in Hades of taking this mask off Thanksgiving Thunder. I'm glad the Four Faces of Fear are your favorite matches, Kevin Sullivan, because that's what I want to beat you at, your own game.
Why would a full-grown man run around in a mask? Only if you're Bob Armstrong and want to hide from your four idiot kids would you do that. Bob, they know where you live. They're going to come over there and bother you the rest of your life. Sure, you made mistakes. Sure, you're going to have to pay for them. And you made a real bad mistake in my life. You didn't pay for my psychiatrist. You know, I was making real good progress. I was becoming a model citizen. I was starting to feel good about humanity. I wanted to be the next Dr. Do-Good. I wanted to find a cure for cancer, or maybe a cure for the common cold. But now, on Thanksgiving Day Thunder, because of all this built-up hatred directed at one person, the guy that used to be the commissioner that wouldn't pay my bills, I have problems in my head, Bob. I have a big pain up here because the Four Faces of Fear are whacking around in my head saying, reach in there and pluck out his tongue. Reach in there and pull off Bobby's mask. Thanksgiving Day Thunder, it's a tradition. It's like when the Pilgrims invited the Indians over for Thanksgiving, and they said, do you want a leg? Do you want a leg? I do. Thanksgiving Day Thunder, a family tradition.
So that Jim Cornette, Bob Caudle segment didn't last very long on the list of the funniest thing I've seen on this show in a few months, because undoubtedly Kevin Sullivan's promo beat that. That was pretty fucking funny.
I just feel so bad that poor Kevin Sullivan is still suffering from psychological issues because that damned Bob Armstrong wouldn't pay his therapy bills.
Yeah. I mean, didn't we ultimately blame Pam Lawson because, she wasn't just rubber stamping these bills anymore. She could have snuck Kevin Sullivan's bill away from Bob Armstrong's pile and just signed it for him, but nope. And he could have found the cure for cancer. He could have cured the common cold. But nope, nope, nope. We couldn't have that because of Bob Armstrong. And now he may take the Bullet's mask off. And I will say, though, the, the Bullet has one of the best doctors I've ever seen in my life because he's managed to get all that work done, whatever was wrong with his face, while never taking off his mask and revealing his identity, even to the doctor.
Incredible. Well, maybe there's a non-disclosure agreement with the doctor.
I mean, in some ways there is, but yeah. I mean, how much do you think Mama Cornette would pay to find out to get proof that the Bullet was Bullet Bob Armstrong?
Well, I would hope that there'd be some doctor out there that had some kind of integrity. I would hope.
I'm sure there is, but it's like that John Mulaney story when he was telling the story about how it's not that hard to get a doctor to write prescriptions because you just go to a list of highly rated doctors and start at doctors with the lowest rating because
Yeah,
they need those stars.
that's
Um,
tremendous. That's tremendous.
yes, it's sad but tremendous. Addiction's awful, Hope everyone gets the help they need if they're addicted to something, but you know, hilarious. Um, so I said this promo made the show. It wasn't like the great promos we've had in weeks or we've had in prior weeks, but I think it was great on its own. And I will say like this, I talked last week about last week's show being a disappointment and a step down. Arguably, this show is probably worse than last week's show. However, because we've now had more time since the greatest show of all time, I accept this show more as being a good show than I did last week's show.
Uh, I thought last week's show was good. I thought this week's show was good.
Last week's show wasn't bad. It was a letdown to me, and which I should not have let it be a letdown, but it was just hard to.
You can't like I don't know. It's not fair to be disappointed because something wasn't the greatest thing ever.
We find out next week, by the way, the Harrises are going to wrestle the Heavenly Bodies, which
Oh.
is wacky since they're going to be wrestling each other at the second annual Thanksgiving Thunder. That's the second
I
annual Thanksgiving Thunder.
if I had to guess, I would guess that there's not going to be a decisive finish in that TV match.
What? No. You're,
Just a
I,
hunch.
man, oh man, you're going on a limb here, Trae. You're
I
going out on
am.
a limb. Okay, so we go to a video of Mike Furnace training. I will say this because, yeah, I, I don't know it's so easy to poo-poo this because what the hell is something like this really doing on TV show? However, it like honestly, it reminded me of when I failed at wrestling training myself. Because like all this stuff, like this is what you did. You learned to lock up. You learned to reverse a hammer lock. You did the drop toe hold. It's like this is first week of wrestling school training, and it's like Tim Horner. I mean, obviously, I don't know whatever happened with the other two guys there because he had two guys, and these are probably the two guys Cornette mentioned that he was training that never came anything of it. But you would think Horner, who is a very good wrestler, could at the very least teach somebody to have a competent wrestling match. So I mean, I'm giving it. I'm trying to be as nice as possible with this. Um, this was first day of wrestling school practice, and I don't know. I thought like you could say, oh, they're breaking kayfabe. They weren't breaking kayfabe, but they were like literally what they were doing. Horner was showing him how to do it, but he wasn't just quote unquote letting him reverse a hammer lock. You know what I mean? It's like Mike Furnace was fighting to reverse the hammer lock. Mike Furnace was fighting to do whatever he was doing. It's like, okay, it's stupid, it's silly. Watching somebody in the first day of wrestling school on TV isn't really shouldn't be on TV, but hey, they made it work in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then
He
one
didn't
of
have.
Horner's young boys gave Furnace a shoulder rub.
I just somehow I blame the temporal ham radio. Cornette is doing these Mike Furnace, Tim Horner segments to troll us in particular.
Why do you say that?
It just doesn't seem kind of spiteful.
Because I failed at wrestling training or because we have to watch Tim Horner and Mike Furness as a duo on camera.
That one, not the other one.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's one of those things, if you have to put both people on TV, you might as well put them on one segment instead of putting them in two different segments and ruining two segments in the show.
True. I would never mock you for trying and failing, Arya. I have
Uh,
tried and failed at things in my own life.
do you know how fucking hard it is to fall down? It really shouldn't be
Uh,
that hard.
I,
Not to,
well,
not just to fall down, to purposely fall down. I
it's
fucking I had the mind block from hell at that.
it's gotta be awkward, I would think. Yeah, because it goes up against all of your natural instincts.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't say I was great at anything, but I mean, I was competent at like the other stuff we were doing. I was running the ropes like a champ, locking up. I was, asking the right questions. I was, I'd progressed to where I was giving shoulder blocks to people. I was getting my ass kicked when learning to sell because I asked for my ass to be kicked, and well, people listen when you tell them to hit you. Here's
Yeah.
the main thing I learned in wrestling training. Don't tell somebody to hit you if you don't really want to be hit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. Um, but by the way, it has been 2 years. I keep fucking up like because we're in November here in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So because of the other shows we're on this day or on this week, it's like I keep thinking to myself that it's November. Like it's not
Yeah,
November. Yeah.
that does get confusing.
Beat the champ TV champion Tim Horner versus Killer Kyle. Neither man got an entrance, but despite the fact that neither man got an entrance, I still have to say thunder rolls and the lightning strikes.
You didn't have to.
Yes, they did. Our fan expects this.
You chose to.
By the way, do you think we're gonna get even half the number of views this week that we did last week for this show?
Well, it that was certainly it felt like an
Pleasant
aberration, but I
surprise.
guess
Yeah.
I guess we shall see.
Well, we had two aberrations in back-to-back days, although who knows, maybe we just talked about the right
Well,
show. We'll,
if
we'll,
we
we'll
get
see this weekend.
if we get three aberrations, that's statistically significant.
Yes, it's called a winning streak. It has happened before. So Daryl Van Horn joins the announce desk to plug the second annual Thanksgiving Thunder, where Horner will wrestle Prince Karis. There has to be an inside rib that Rick Rubin wanted a mummy so bad on this show, and so Cornette books a mummy against Tim Horner.
You know what? I bet you're right. That does sound like that would be that. Yes.
Uh, Daryl Van Horn said only he and the Prince, that's right, he and the Prince only kiss ass after it's been whipped by a cat o' nine tails. And that seemed perfectly up your alley there, Trae.
I I need whatever book of one-liners that Daryl Van Horn had memorized in 1993. Like he's the only thing entertaining about this match. Hotter than a jalapeno enema.
I had to laugh, and we knew it had to happen at some point because they've been plugging Pam Lawson now for the past month. And sure enough, here during the Tim Horner match, they plugged calling Pam Lawson. It's
Yeah.
like, okay. Um, and Horner won. Actually, Kyle blocked the natural bridge, and Horner just won with a sunset flip. So hey, he learned a second move.
Hey, good for him.
Yes. Kyle was so upset that he lost this match that he calmly put his hat back on and then grabbed his violin case.
Well,
And,
you know, man's got to control his emotions.
do you notice Jim Cornette isn't there with Killer Kyle anymore?
I did notice that.
Yeah. It's like Killer Kyle goes in, not only goes in and out of Smoky Mountain, but even when he's here, he goes in and out of being aligned with Jim Cornette.
He's just there when he's needed.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Killer Kyle was like great or anything, but I always liked his gimmick. I liked his whole thing. You know, like I mean, they use him now as a Big Bubba for the 1990s, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I liked it. I liked the,
Yeah.
sullen bodyguard mafiosa type guy with a violin case, and he never talks. Like,
Yeah.
and
And yeah, you're right. And as I'm, oh yeah, like he's not Big Bubba Rogers. Like it's just, but who the fuck is gonna be, right? But
yeah,
then like he's fine.
yeah, exactly. And you know, um, speaking of people who shouldn't talk at all, Tim Horner is by a microphone for some reason. So Bob Caudle decides to throw the guy a bone. Let's go to Caudle now.
All right, Dutch, and here with me right now, White Lightning, Tim Horner, another $1,000 richer, still our TV champion. But I tell you, we had Daryl Van Horn over here talking about Thanksgiving Thunder, and he said we have probably seen the last of White Lightning.
Well, let me tell you something about Mr. Van Horn. Mr. Van Horn is a leech, just like all these other managers around here, trying to find somebody that'll take him to the top so he can ride their coattails and be somebody. Well, I've heard all about this prince of wherever.
Harris, I think.
Wherever he is. Coming in, over 7 feet tall, over 300 pounds, and wanted to fight 2 men. Is that correct?
That's right.
Well, let me tell you something. At Thanksgiving Thunder, you've got me, White Lightning, and I'm going to be coming at you so hard and so fast from so many different directions, you're going to think there's 2 of me. I hope your man is up to the test, because I sure am.
So Tim Horner is going to be coming at Prince Karras from many different directions.
Something Pam.
Yeah. I love that he could not remember Prince Karras's name because it's Tim Horner, so it wouldn't make any sense for him to actually know these things.
No. Why would you?
And I guess it's a good thing he's a mummy because if Horner's going to come all over him, at least he can wipe it off.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I bet it's everything you ever think when you talk to the show about Tim Horner orgasming all over another wrestler.
I mean, yeah, if that's what I was gonna think, that'd be how I thought about it.
Now, I gotta say, we do not live in a world where we need multiple Harris Brothers promos on one show, even if one of them is a local promo. But I did mark out for them pushing in a cart full of dummies.
Yeah, it was tremendous. And then other local promo was the Dirty White Boy and the Dirty White Girl, and that was also great.
Yes, it's funny there. Like, I didn't even think about this, but like we just had 2 big baby face turns back to back, and we don't, especially like in territorial television, which this is obviously based off of. You didn't normally see so many face heel turns unless you were in Memphis.
And not only were there 2 back to back, they were both like well crafted and felt earned. Like,
yeah,
very well.
Like
I really am thinking, because you think about these turns, and then just think about like Cornette's own face turn with Paulie in 88, 89. Like, I really think one of his biggest strengths as the booker is knowing how to craft a babyface turn that feels earned.
Mm-hmm. And you said it before. One of the best way to turn a hated heel babyface is to have an even bigger scumbag heel to be the reason why he turned.
Exactly.
And Cornette wouldn't have turned babyface if, I don't know, Oliver Humperdinck would have attacked him on Saturday night.
There's only one person. There's only one person that would have worked with, and everybody knew it.
Yes. And I think he had to go to the fucking AWA to find that person.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
How about that?
Yeah, the AWA gave us something there at the end, even if it was for another company.
There we go.
So let's go to our show closing promo with Primetime Brian Lee and Tammy Fytch. And man, oh man, I cannot wait to talk to you about what happens over the next 58 seconds.
All right, fans, and with us right now, here is Primetime Brian Lee, Miss Tammy Fytch.
Ridiculous.
What, you guys were really trying to sucker the dirty white boy or what? He didn't have an injured arm.
Who does white boy think he is bringing that sleazy little tramp out here? Who does she think she is touching me? I mean, I can't believe the Smoky Mountain officials would even let somebody as dirty and sleazy like her in the same building with me. I'm gonna get a skin rash from her even coming near me for her touching me. I can't believe this. She's the sleaziest, dirtiest, I'm so upset. She's the sleaziest, dirtiest little tramp I've ever seen in my life. She's a scumbag. Hey, Brian, can we say the word slut on television?
I think we can. That's exactly what she is.
That's what she is.
That's exactly what she is.
She is.
Dirty white boy's nothing, and she's nothing but a slut.
That's what she is.
That's what I know. I know. You know, she hit my head right here.
Brian!
Oh, wait a minute, watch out. Oh, and there she goes, up over the desk. Brian got her, and Brian tackled her. Here.
I gotta tell you, I was watching this morning and screamed out, "Holy shit!" because White Girl comes charging in, and Brian Lee basically backdrops her over his head, face first onto the announce desk.
Oh my god, dirty white girl's gonna kill a bitch. Oh my god, this is so perfect. This just everything about this angle from conception to like the point that we're almost in a completely different story now, but it's just evolved. Like they didn't just change the story, like the story evolved. There's been development and characters, positions, and motivations have changed. And now the dirty white boy's got somebody to take care of that bitch.
Indeed, he does. Like I said, I'm just happy White Girl didn't, get injured, taking a backdrop on the fucking desk like that.
I know they're going to do a mixed tag eventually, and we've got to get the time machine working.
I know they definitely do a mixed tag match. So let's see how that happens. So that brings us to the end of the show. 94 down, 106 to go.
Yeah, we're almost halfway. I guess in six will be
Christmas Day is the halfway point.
Okay.
I don't know. I just thought that was kind of like I don't know. Having the halfway point being on Christmas is almost like a bad sign.
Is it exactly 200 episodes?
It is.
How about that?
Yeah. February 1st, 1992, all the way to November 26th, 1995. I haven't done my intro in a while, but yeah, it's exactly 200 episodes. By the way, this is before we get into what happened this week in wrestling, I do just want to give some breaking news here on the show. Some breaking news for something that happens Tuesday on this show that drops on Thursday. Cora Jade on NXT apparently messed up her knee during her match with Jordynne Grace.
Oh.
So, yeah. So, a huge shout out to Cora Jade. Hope it's not serious, and we see it back in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And she's actually supposed to be, I think she's going to be in TNA. She's supposed to be in TNA in a couple of weeks, I saw too.
Oh, well, that's a bummer.
Yeah. I think she might be, I think she's wrestling Masha Slamovich at the next pay-per-view.
Speaking of the sudden influx of WWE talent working outside dates, did you see Natalia's doing Bloodsport and wrestling for Billy Pumpkins at the Crockett Cup?
Yes, at the ECW Arena.
Yeah.
And by the way, yes, Masha Slamovich is wrestling Cora Jade for the TNA Knockouts World Title at TNA Sacrifice. Of course,
hopefully
If she's hurt, she's probably not. Now,
Hopefully the injury's not serious.
okay, let me tell you some of the matches on this show, and you tell me what you think the main event is. Because, I mean,
Okay.
I'm guessing what it is, but there's no like, there's no match that's jumping out as, oh, this is the main event. So the Rascals and Ace Austin versus Wesley, Tyson DuPont, and Tyreek Igwe. I'm probably mispronouncing that in a six-man tag match. Masha versus Cora Jade, Joe Hendry, Matt Hardy, Elijah, Leon Slater, and TBA versus Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, JDC, and the Colons in a 10-man tag match. Mance Warner with Steph DeLander versus Sammy Callahan in a street fight. The match that I think is the main event, Moose versus Jeff Harvey in a ladder match for the X Division title, which I guess may not be for the X Division title because, this show's going to be next Friday the 14th, but on Tuesday the 11th, Moose has a title for title match with Oba Femi on NXT.
Could be for both the X title and the NXT title.
Yeah.
Would
You
it
think
be?
Moose is-
Would it then be the?
You
Would it then be the N2XT title?
Do you think we'll have an Ultimate NXT match?
I hope so.
Now, here's the thing. Do you think they're going to actually do a finish in that match? Moose versus Oba Femi?
A TV match, probably not.
Guess we'll see. Tessa Blanchard versus Li Ying Lee, who's the former Xia Li, and Mustafa Ali versus Mike Santana.
Okay.
I think the latter match is the main event, but Mustafa Ali and Mike Santana, just because they've been really getting the promotional push behind Mike Santana as the new face of TNA.
That's what TNA wrestling has come to these days.
Now we're debating what the main event is, or that Mike Santana is the face of the company.
Hey, nothing against Mike Santana.
Yeah.
Mike Santana's a hell of a guy, good worker. I maybe don't think that he's top star in a major territory, but all due respect.
I mean, to be fair, he's not in a major territory; he's in TNA.
Yeah, that's the point. He's I think he's in a good place.
So, what the hell ever happened to Ortiz? Is he's not injured, is he?
And who knows? Maybe he had been at some point. Sometimes these people have like long-term injuries and we don't really know about it. I don't know.
It sucks that they had a falling out because they were a damn good tag team.
Yeah, they were. And from what I understand, the main static ended up being that Santana it wanted more, and Ortiz was content with the getting the paycheck and the being treated well.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Santana, we talked. If we didn't talk last week, we've talked about it before. Sometimes you got to bet on yourself, and maybe this will blow up in Mike Santana's face. But he bet on himself. He could have had, a very good career as a mid-card tag team in AEW. And I know you don't like that phrase, the mid-card tag team, but that was what their role was. They were
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with mid-card tag teams. I just don't like the idea of mid-card titles.
Okay. Well, it's like they weren't going to be the main event tag team. They were too good to be the opening match tag team, but they were perfectly fine for the top of the hour tag team match. And much like Little Guido in ECW giving up his safe spot as a comedy wrestler, Mike Santana is shooting his shot and, giving up a comfortable spot to try to make it on his own. And it's not to say like, hey, maybe him and Ortiz will end up getting back together at some point. Who knows? But I think, it never hurts to try.
Mike Santana is going to do more as a singles guy in TNA right now than he would be in AEW, or
Wh-
so good for him.
Which, yeah,
It it TNA has always been a good company for somebody to work at to kind of prove that they can be in a position of responsibility.
I will say too, Eddie Edwards, like, he could have left this company forever ago because, I mean, let's be honest. He could have gone pretty much anywhere he wanted to in wrestling, especially when TNA was at their lowest. And it just came out that he and Alicia just re-signed a new contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey,
Yep.
tip of a hat to Eddie. There's obviously a reason, and it's not just about the money all the time, but he gets
I
treated well. He always gets pushed, even if
I mean,
it's
hey,
quote
they got
unquote
kids,
just a
right?
tag team. Yeah. I I met
I
them both at an indie show nearby because Alicia was wrestling and Eddie came to watch her wrestle.
I would imagine they have a very comfortable life.
Yeah. I imagine so. And they live somewhere in Massachusetts. I don't know if they actually live in Boston or not, but it is relatively close enough.
It seems like an incredible statistic because it's been around for almost 25 years now. Only two non-Japanese have ever won the GHC heavyweight title.
And one of them is Eddie Edwards.
One of them is Eddie Edwards. You know who the other one is?
Joe Doring.
No, Joe Doring was the Ultimate Triple Crown champion. No, it was actually last year. Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr.
Yeah, you could have given me 5 million guesses and I would not have guessed that.
Yeah.
You could have given me a list of every wrestler who's at least got a Mexican lucha libre name, and that name would not have been the one that I picked. By the way, I guess I should tell you what else happened in the world of wrestling here before we
Yeah,
start to
why
wrap
not?
things up here.
Us.
So I guess it's a good thing we wait till the very end because I mean this is gonna take things on a little bit of a sour note. Jerry Lawler was arrested on November 12th on one count of second-degree rape, three counts of second-degree sodomy, and one count of harassing a witness. And this is the famous 13-year-old girl that he allegedly was doing this with. And he's also being investigated in southern Indiana on similar accusations. The WWF, who at this point is under enough of their own accusations that they don't need any fucking more, suspended Lawler immediately, taking him out of the upcoming Survivor Series match with the four Hart brothers and got replaced by the returning Shawn Michaels. However, it is expected that if or when Lawler is cleared of these charges, that he'd be back. And I mean, all,
Look,
all I can say is that the girl eventually, went back on her claim.
I know,
And
I know, I know that it's the year 2025, and that means that people think that every accusation should warrant the death penalty. But Lawler was cleared of all wrongdoing in those accusations.
yeah. But can you imagine if these accusations had come out even in the mid 2000s? Because now it's like, you know, if you're accused of anything, you're automatically guilty.
Hmm.
And we'd still be bringing that up to this day. Whereas now, to be honest, the only people who bring that up are people who reference like the Doug Gilbert promo on Memphis TV.
That's what I
You
was
know,
thinking about. Oh, I get what
you,
year is
you
that?
know, you know,
95. I'm sure that'll come
99.
up with our. Oh, was it 90? Oh, wow, I thought it was
Yeah.
sooner than that. Oh, so we
You
won't.
know,
So we won't get into that on this show.
nope. I'm Doug Gilbert. Ha ha ha. And Jerry Lawler, you raped a little 13-year-old girl.
Swear to God, he says those exact words on television. Oh my God.
And I think like the show got canceled like almost immediately too.
I
Um,
I don't think Doug ever worked for fucking Memphis again.
I'd say did Doug ever work again, but he probably did.
I get well, that's a fair point.
All right. Other news. The first ever Ultimate Fighting Championship show was held.
Oh,
Uh, yeah. Uh, in Denver, Colorado. And it's funny, and it's died down because I don't like, people complain about Dave have 8 million other things to complain about. Remember in the 2000s and 2010s when the big complaint was that Dave spent so much of the Observer talking about MMA?
yeah.
Well, the very first UFC show in November 1993, it was Page 5 News. Um, Boyce Gracie won the tournament, submitting Gerard Gordeau in the finals of an 8-man tournament. And as somebody who loves this early day history of UFC, if you're out there listening to the dulcet tones of my voice and want to read more about these early days, check out Art Davies' book, Is This Legal? And John McCarthy's biography, Let's Get It On, because those are two extremely good books, especially the parts about the early days of UFC.
Awesome. I know I have the McCarthy one. I don't remember if I ever picked up. If I didn't, it was on my wish list at some point. Is this legal?
Yep. And I mean, that's
I'm gonna
pretty
go.
much it. It's only about UFC 1, but it's a fascinating look behind the scenes at it.
Hey,
And
yeah,
I,
it's cool
I,
though.
I was like, and you never watch it. You said you were going to, but you haven't gotten to that point yet, have you?
No, I will. I need. I got to get back on. I haven't spent a lot of time in 1993 because I've been spending time in real life, and then
How dare
been
you?
trying to catch, been trying to catch up on some modern wrestling.
All right, so you may need to cover your ears for a second here. But the very first fight in UFC history, it's Gerard Gordeau versus a huge 450-ish pound sumo wrestler named Taylor Tooley. And the fight starts, it's like 13 seconds long. Taylor Tooley charges across the cage. Gerard Gordeau backs up, sidesteps it. Taylor Tooley trips, falls on his ass, and Gordeau kicks him right in the mouth, sending one tooth lodged into Gordeau's foot and one tooth flying out of the cage over over John McCarthy's wife's head.
Oh,
And
phenomenal!
yes, and then it gets better because they like John McCarthy is not the referee of UFC 1. It's this Brazilian ref who didn't speak very much English, and the only way you could win was submission or if your corner man threw in the towel, and the referee stopped the fight. And he was getting yelled at by Horion on the cage because you're not. There's no ref stoppage. You can't stop the fight because of this. And eventually, Taylor Tooley's corner person threw in the towel. But it was crazy from moment one. But yeah, the tooth going over John McCarthy's wife's head is my one of my favorite parts of that.
Sounds fantastic. I'm
Yes,
gonna have to get
unfortunately,
that. Art Davies
oh my,
book is only 8.99 or 7.99 at Kindle.
oh my God, the announcing though is like some of the worst announcing you've ever seen on a show in your life. Um, First of
I
all,
don't
the
know.
guy,
I don't know
I'm
about
like,
that. I've seen some bad announcing.
well, it's pretty bad. I'll say that. I can't remember the fucking guy's name, but he's this white-haired guy. Bill Wallace is his name. He's the lead announcer with NFL Hall of Famer Jim Brown and Kathy Long, who is an actual fighter, doing commentary together. And the first thing he does is belch into the microphone.
Wow.
Yes, and then
Outstanding.
he calls it the wrong name. He mispronounces people's names over and over again throughout the show. Uh, it's it's just tremendous. And by the way, and since I had to not really so much a dig, but there was a 30 thing that happened this week. WCW held their most recent Clash of the Champions, which was considered a major thumbs down, despite what was going in as a pretty strong lineup. The main event saw Ric Flair beat Vader via disqualification, so Vader retained the WCW World Title, and it sets up Starrcade.
Oh,
Yes. All right. So that's it. Yeah. So again, I strongly recommend anything about early UFC because like that shit is just fascinating to me. To me, like
yeah.
yeah, I love the story. I think it was UFC 12. It was supposed to be in Niagara Falls, New York, and this was like they had gone through all these court battles before every fucking UFC pay-per-view at this point. There's a new court battle to try to keep them out of the state. And the state of New York legalized MMA. And then the New York Times posted a series of articles talking about how this is human cockfighting, that people die during this, and yada, yada, yada. And so they immediately went about trying to reverse the law, but it wasn't going to get done in time. And so since they weren't going to be able to reverse the law in time for the show, they gave UFC a handbook of rules that they had to follow that were so absurd that like, you know, amateur boxing is like had less strict rules than the UFC was going to have in New York for this show. And so they went to court, and the day before the show, the court said, because you're a legal sport now in the state of New York, and these are the rules they give you, if you don't want to follow these rules, you can just not have your show. And so they had to pack up everything, fighters, cage, everything, and move overnight to Dothan, Alabama, where somehow they still ran a show in a completely different state, the next day, which,
Wow.
yeah. I, like I said, I just love all that shit. It's like, I don't give two shits about modern day UFC. It's like,
No.
you know, literally, whatever was more recent, Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt or the two CM Punk fights. I think the two CM Punk fights are more recent. But whichever one is more recent, that's the last time I cared enough to watch UFC.
The time that MMA is interesting is the period where it was literally like, hey, what if we did pro wrestling but real?
Yeah. Um, or like when Chael Sonnen opened his mouth. That
Hey,
was interesting.
that was what got me. That was what caused my MMA phase was Chael Sonnen's mouth.
Chael Sonnen talking shit about the Nogueira brothers and Anderson Silva. It's like that shit's still hilarious.
He's got a black belt under the Nogueira brothers. Saying you got a black belt under the Nogueira brothers is like saying I got a free toy with my Happy Meal.
He, he I saw the Nogueira brothers in Las Vegas. They were petting a bus like they thought it was a horse.
I used to have a whole YouTube compilation of just Chael Sonnen one-liners, and I got to see if that's still up there.
Oh God. And the funniest thing was like, wasn't he like banned, or not so much banned in Brazil, but like the legitimate thought was if he went to Brazil, he might get fucking murdered.
Yeah, yeah, because he talked so much shit about Brazilians during that feud when he was not only talking shit about Anderson Silva, but the uh fucking the Nogueiras and every other Silva on the planet.
And then he got into a fight. God damn it, I'm not allowed to talk, I guess. He got into a fight, was it with Vanderlei on The Ultimate Fighter the one time?
I don't
Uh,
remember. I think I had stopped by then.
what wasn't even the US Ultimate Fighter? I think it was the Brazilian version of The Ultimate Fighter that,
Oh
you know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, watching Brock Lesnar punch people in the face is always fun. And watching CM Punk get punched in the face, apparently. Also, really fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
I liked
Hey, I love.
the guy. I liked the guy that CM Punk fought, whose name was Mickey Gall, and he came out like I remember it being a story that like he wanted to come out to the song Mickey by Tony Basil, and Dana was like no, and then everybody was like, oh come on, and Dana was like fine.
Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey. Hey,
You know,
Mickey.
my wife has a theory about that song.
What's that?
I what if you listen to it and think about it, I think that she's in love with the gay guy.
I never thought of that.
Well, just listen. It I'll take it any way you can, any way you want. I'll take it like a man. The evidence is there.
I guess so. I could see that. By the way, Mickey Gall no longer part of. Well, I guess he wasn't a part of UFC anymore, but he did return for two more fights in 2024, and uh he lost one by unanimous decision and got knocked the fuck out in the other one. Um, but by the way, do you know the name of the other person CM Punk fought in the UFC?
Oh yeah,
In the in a fight that was so bad that Dana White fired him for winning.
wasn't it like Mike Jackson?
Yes, the Alabama
Phenomenal.
junior heavyweight champion, Mike Jackson.
You know, I bet that CM Punk and the other Mike Jackson would have been better.
I I guarantee it. Been. Um, by the way, and the best part was Punk lost that fight, but he ended up the decision got overturned because the guy got popped for a drug test.
Yes.
So
Yes.
technically, Punk is 0-1-1. Um, I once made a joke when all that story that Kurt Angle kept trying to negotiate with Dana White, and then it was complete horseshit. But like I was joking that Kurt would go into the cage and try to lock up and call spots with the guys, and they'd be very very confused.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything
Um.
else happened this week?
No, I'm too busy looking at Mike Jackson.
Which one?
And not the Alabama junior heavyweight champion Mike Jackson either.
Oh, that's the best Mike Jackson.
Yeah. Let me see anything. By the way, did you see Saray's brother's no longer with AEW? Did you see?
No.
Let's say, did you see Saray's brother was in AEW? Would be a better
I
question.
I do
Yeah.
recall. Oh, did I have a fucking dream about Saraya coming back and like doing an angle with Harley Cameron, or is that a thing that happened? I think I dreamed. Why the fuck am I dreaming about Harley Cameron angles?
It could be worse.
I mean, yeah, but why do they have Saraya in them?
Saraya is an attractive woman.
Yeah, sure.
You don't think Saraya is attractive?
She is. It's she's a little too pale and skinny.
Okay.
Like it
Uh,
gets almost toward like looking goth, and that just don't hit for me.
by the way, I went to Sean Ross Sapp on Blue Sky, who's got some late breaking news from 9 minutes ago. I'm
Hmm.
going to a Publix a mile from my house. What should I know?
Is
Yeah,
it a new Publix?
I don't know.
Has he never been to
Uh,
Publix before? Get a
I'm guessing not.
sandwich. So all I know about Publix is that they're like a grocery store chain in Florida, and they have like a deli, and they have really really good sub sandwiches.
Any particular type of sandwich or?
I don't remember. I'm sure I usually go for like a club sandwich or something with, like, ham and roast beef and turkey, or, just as much meat as possible. If I go to Jimmy John's, I get the JJ Gargantuan.
Okay, sounds good. So if he gets that, Sean Ross Sapp has to give us a shout out on the show now, or his show. All
Yeah.
right, so I think at this point, when we're talking about Sean Ross Sapp's Publix order, I think it's time to tap out and call it a night.
All right.
All right, if you're listening to this, not entirely sure why, but thank you. Um,
Yeah. Appreciate it.
are we still game for the prequel episode tomorrow on the watch along?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Why not? As far as I know.
NW it's the prequel to Mid-South Wrestling, and that just caused everyone who listened to our first show to turn off because you don't listen to the new stuff. Why the hell would you listen to the really old stuff? But
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna be on at some point Friday night. I mean, it won't be. I'm sure it won't be live unless I suddenly become a technology whiz. But yeah, so at some point that'll be up, and we'll see how that goes and go from there. But listen to the Oh My God cast. It's apparently a podcast about ECW. The fucking Bad Breed are going to be wrestling a lot, or they have wrestled a
Yeah.
lot. Jesus H. Christ.
Yeah.
If I was at that fucking NWA Blood Feast night one, I may never go to another wrestling show ever again.
Oh, you haven't even gotten to the main event of all the NWA Blood Feasts.
I was gonna say I'm missing Blood Feast night two, so I'm just going whenever I decide to go back to ECW, I've got to go to the TV shows but at this point, that was the longest 2 hours of my life, and I saw Jay White versus Daddy Ass.
Well,
Um,
I won't spoil it for you then.
Sounds good. I know that by listening to the commentary, because oh my God, so yeah, it's so not when you think about ECW for a number of reasons, but not the least of which is like these shows were just chopped up all the hell and spliced
Yeah.
together to make like 4 6
Mm-hmm.
weeks of TV. And so when you go back and unsplice them up, you're getting disjointed commentary to say the very least. And you're getting Joey Styles spoiling matches that don't happen until the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. Hopefully it came across better on TV.
You would hope so.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. Hope you all enjoyed it. And if not, well, I don't know what the hell to tell you then. But thank you all for
Sorry
listening.
about your damn luck.
Which was a better James Storm song? The Sorry About Your Damn Luck, or Long Necks and Rednecks Are My Friends.
I gotta go with the Beer Money theme.
Well, that was a mashup theme. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that's
So
still
yeah.
James Storm.
So yeah, it's a mashup of that the Sorry About Your Damn Luck and the Bobby Roots theme, right?
Yeah, it took me a long time to get into the Long Necks and Rednecks theme just because I love the Sorry About Your Damn Luck theme so much.
By the way, just making sure we all agree that Beer Money is the superior James Storm tag team, right?
Over AMW? Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
AMW is really
yeah.
damn good.
Yeah, they were, but Beer Money was a really great team.
By the way, if we're really bored tomorrow, in addition to watching NWA Tri-State, we need to watch Elevation X with James Storm versus Rhino. I mean, I've
Okay.
already watched it for the show tomorrow, but
Oh,
I mean,
I watched that when it happened, I think, and haven't seen it since.
it is just as good as you remember.
All right. We shall see.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to do it for this week's show. We said this already, but thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.